In this video, we're going to be looking at nested selection and nested iteration. This is part 1 of a 2-part video for AQA's GCSE in computer science. What is nesting? Nesting is where we have one or many programming constructs inside of another. In this example, I have a selection nested inside of a selection. It is possible to have a variety of combinations such as iteration inside of a selection, selection inside of an iteration inside of an iteration, and the one shown in the example, a selection inside of a selection. Nesting can be built up over and over to include many possibilities and pass for the program to follow. It allows for complex decisions to be made. Let's take a look at what it would look like in pseudocode. When nesting selections, the number of possible paths at the decision point can be increased by including one selection within another. This selection here is checking if the game has ended. If the game hadn't ended, it would go down to the else, go inside, and output, loading next level. If the game had ended, it would have gone inside of the if statement, and it would have arrived at the second selection. It then checks if the game score was greater than the higher score, and if it was, it would output new high score. If the game had ended, but the user hadn't beat the high score, it would have gone down to the else and said, sorry, you didn't beat the high score. You can see by nesting a selection how the program has been able to deal with a wider variety of possible outcomes. In this example, I have a loop nested inside of a loop. So if we take a look at the first loop, you can see for x in the range of 1 to 10. So the first time this runs, x is made equal to 1. The program will then continue on to the nested loop, which is highlighted here in red, for y in the range of 1 to 10. So the first time this runs, y is set to 1. The program then comes down and does answer equals x multiplied by y. 1 times 1 is 1. Then it is outputted to the screen. 1 times 1 equals 1. The loop would then come round, and y would become 2. And this would continue looping round, iterating, as shown on the left hand side here. You can see that y was beginning of 1, it then became 2, it then became 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9. At this point, the loop highlighted in red is complete. So it will go back up to the first loop and continue this. X will be incremented to 2. It will then come back down into the red section and it will run the second loop again. And this time it will be 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3, 2 times 4. You've probably spotted that this is printing out the times tables. Now obviously it wouldn't finish after x becomes 2. It would go all the way around until x becomes 9 because it's in the range of 1 to 10. Here is the pseudocode for the flowchart on the previous page. You can see that the loop highlighted in red has another loop nested inside of it, shown here, highlighted in green. Every time the loop in red loops, it will increment x by 1. It will then call the loop shown in green every time. And this will continue until the condition is satisfied and x reaches 9. Let's recap. Nesting occurs when one programming construct or many are inside of another. The most common ones we see are a selection nested inside of another selection, a loop inside of another loop, a loop inside of a selection, or a selection inside of a loop. These are not the only ones. It is possible to have multiple layers of nesting. For example, a selection inside of a selection inside of a selection inside of a loop. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. In part 2, we're going to take a more in-depth look at nesting, and we're going to take the problems you've just seen and turn them into actual code.